Hello, welcome to Urban Ventures guitar class. My name is Jaxon and this is Guitar 1. Today we're going to be going over the basics of the guitar from the very beginning and up from there. We're going to start by kind of going over some of the parts of the guitar, the string names, and then learning a couple kind of simple songs on maybe the first couple strings today. To start, I'm going to be using an electric guitar. This part here we call the body. We have the bridge. These are some tone and volume knobs. We have the neck, the headstock. This little piece is called the nut. These are called tuners. And then these are, of course, called strings. The strings are on top of these things called frets. And finally, these little pieces here, they're called pickups, and they're kind of like little microphones for the strings and picking up the sound. If you're using an acoustic guitar, perhaps like this one, it has, instead of pickups, we have a sound hole. It kind of works the same way. But other than that, most of the parts are the same. Let's talk about these strings and what they're called. Take a second just to play through each string from the one that's closest to you and then down towards your feet. I'm going to be using something called a pick, which is just a little piece of plastic that's used for playing the strings with my right hand. If you don't have one, you could certainly just use your thumb. I'm going to start with this one that's closest to me. It's called the low E string. Then we have the A, then the D string, then G, then B, and then E again. That's right, there's two E strings. We have the low E string, because it's low in pitch, and then the high E string, because it's high in pitch. And that's all of the string names. A really good acronym that I like to use for remembering these string names is elephants and dogs grow big ears. That's elephants, E, and A, dogs, D, grow, G, big, B, and ears, E. So first step is really try to memorize those string names because it makes playing so much easier once you have all those string names memorized. So next up, I'd like to just talk about how we're going to learn songs. And we're going to use something, a technique called tablature. What tablature means is that we're going to use kind of lines that represent the strings and numbers that represent these things that we talked about called frets. So let's talk about kind of finding fret numbers real quick. Each of these little kind of squares on the guitar is assigned a number. When we play, we're going to try to push down in between the frets on the correct number. So for example, if I say 0, it means on the E string, we're going to stay on the high E string for now. If I say 0 on the high E string, it just means to play the E without using my left hand at all. If I say 3, I have to count up 0, 1, 2, 3 until I find the 3rd fret and I push down right there. So before we get into a song, let's do a little exercise on the high E string and just practice finding some frets. So to start, we're just going to play the open E string 4 times. Next, try to locate the 3rd fret. So you could either count 1, 2, 3, or if your guitar has dots, likely the first dot is going to be that 3rd fret. So you could use those to help you find it. Let's go back and forth between the two. We're going to play the open E string 4 times and then the 3rd fret 3 times. Good. Now let's try to find the 5th fret. Same thing, it's probably your next dot. So you could either count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or if you just look for your dots, it's going to be that 2nd dot. Let's play it 4 times. Good. So now let's go and play the open E string 4 times, the 3rd fret 4 times. Let's go back to the open E string again, and then to the 5th fret, all 4 times each. So 1, 2, ready, go. Next, let's look at a song that uses those frets. A great beginner song is Rain, Rain, Go Away. It's going to start on our 3rd fret. Now I'll go ahead and just play the whole thing for you, and then we can break it down into smaller pieces. So again, I start on the 3rd fret, then go to the 0, then 3, 3, 0. That's a good little chunk just to practice on its own. Now the next part is going to use the 5th fret. Now instead of using 1 finger, at this point you should try to get 2 fingers involved. So for the 3rd fret, I'm going to use my index finger, and for the 5th fret, I'm going to try to use my ring finger. It's going to sound like this. So the whole thing one more time. Next up, let's get into a song that's a little bit harder. Happy Birthday. Great song to know for any birthday occasion. And I got a lot of requests to learn this song. This song is going to go all the way up and down the neck, but it's still all on the high E string. Okay? To start, I'll just play the whole thing for you. Now let's break it down into a couple pieces here. The beginning, 0, 0, 2, 0, 5, 4. Good little first part to practice. The next few notes is almost the same, except we go up a little higher, 7, 5, 0, 0, 2, 0, 7, 5. Now after that, it's going to go all the way up to our 12th fret. The 12th fret is going to be marked with a double dot on most guitars. So instead of having to count all the way up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which kind of takes a long time, see if you could just find that double dot, that 12th fret, okay? Right? And then you could use that double dot, that 12th fret, to help you find the next one, which is the 10th fret. And that's Happy Birthday. All right, and that's all for today. Great job, everybody. Remember to try to practice a little bit every day. And that's how you're gonna really get better. Even if it's not a ton of time, that's okay. Just give it 5 minutes a day at least, and you're definitely gonna get better. Being consistent is super important with getting better at any instrument. So please leave comments below if there's any songs you'd want to learn or any suggestions and recommendations. Love to hear the feedback, and I'll see you next time. Bye.